A lotus is a flower rooted in the mud that rises through and above to become a beautiful bloom. This is a podcast sharing mine and other stories of how we've done the same, choosing to rise above our circumstances to bloom. I'm your host, Amber. Let's get started. Today I'm here with Jennifer, who I've had on before, and also Candice, who I've had on a couple times. And this one is a little bit different because this time we had a topic that we specifically wanted to talk about, which was self-betrayal, which is something that I think is super common, but not talked about very often, not specifically. And I think that there's a lot to recognizing it, and then as far as actually healing it and healing the relationships that affects. So let's go ahead and just talk about that. And then Jennifer, if you don't mind, because when we had talked about this, you had a really good personal experience of self-betrayal. If you don't mind just sharing that.
Okay. So do you edit that? Just kidding. So with self-betrayal, my experience with it, I've had a lot of experience with it, but the one that keeps coming to my mind to share is like, here growing up in Utah, I was always taught like that if you look at another person, like even looking at another person is betrayal. Like you can't even, if you're committed to somebody like your husband, then you can't even look at like find another guy attractive. So, or that's cheating. Like that is literally cheating. Yeah. So I bought into that, like somehow, like I fully was like, nope, I have to be the number one. Like if my husband is looking at anybody besides me, he must not love me. Like he must not want me. He must not eat all these things. Yeah. So poor guy, like learned real quick that he could not say if somebody, and I'd set him up. I'd be like, do you think she's hot? He'd be honest and be like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, you da 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 da. Anyway, I had a whole thing around it. And so it started way, way young. And we got married when I was like 23. So of course there was like, so I bring that up as a topic of self-betrayal, like what caused it for me, because I see that all the time. Like women have such a hard time if their husband or if their partner is even looking at another girl or finding another girl attractive. And what I would do with that is I would take it and punish myself with it. So very early on, he knew he had to hide if he looked at other women or whatnot. So then years into our marriage, I would get snoopy and like feel if like, I wonder if he's looking at other girls or whatnot. And so then I would search his phone and look at all the things. And of course I would see that he'd like looked at another girl. And then I would feel like he didn't love me or that I wasn't good enough in some way. And so the self-betrayal that he did was not being honest of like, I notice other women and I think a lot of women are beautiful and I love you. And I think you are amazing. So his self-betrayal was lying and to keep the peace. And so then when he did that, then I would find out, then I would self-betray by like being really mean to myself, like thinking that I must not be pretty enough, that he would want to look at other people besides just me. Or there were times that I would even take, like I would gain 30 pounds in a month. because, well, if he wants to look at that, I'm not that. So I'm going to make sure that then he has to have sex with what I thought was like not appealing, you know? And it screwed myself over because guess what? He still wanted to have sex with me 30 pounds heavier or 100 pounds heavier.
Like, joke's on you.
Yeah. And then it did get to the point where I was like 100 pounds heavier. And I was like, what have I done? Like, I've totally screwed myself over, you know? And, yeah.
Were you, sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt,
it's okay.
When you were having that, was there, sorry, let me start over.
No.
I think it's really fascinating when you start doing the healing work, you recognize thought patterns of, oh, when I was doing this, I was actually doing it because it served me this way. But it's interesting how in the moment, it wasn't like, there wasn't a point A to point B.
No.
It was just like, it's in hindsight that you can see that clear path. Did you have that clear path of, I know that if I do this, it's going to make him have to do this, and this is how it's going to make me feel? Or was it in hindsight you recognized that that was the thought pattern?
It was in hindsight.
Yeah.
Because in the moment, I was just hurt and mad and felt like, you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you. When really I hurt both of us, you know? And then, of course, like that behavior in itself causes a disconnect. And so then there were all kinds of stuff that we've gone through. That's like the light one to talk about, you know? And it's just that pattern of, it took me probably like 15 years of doing that over all kinds of different things to finally realize, like, wait a minute. I remember sitting with it and being like, I am not happy with where I am. And I had to take huge accountability for everything. Like, not like him lying or anything like that, but putting him in a situation to where like there wasn't authenticity and honesty, and it was like there just was no room for that, and I created that. And then I created this whole story around like, well, I am doing this and it's your fault. Like, it was like that. Like, that was my mindset. And so then he just took it. Like, he was like, oh, I'm the worst person ever, you know? And so I was talking to him about this the other day, and he was like, oh my gosh, I've never even looked at it that way, where I thought my choices were self-betrayal. And then because it got to a point where I was like, just be honest about where you're at, what you do. I don't have practice responding to that honesty. So like, be patient with me when I respond poorly, because I don't have practice with this. And because his reaction is to self-betray and then like go back into that secrecy pattern. But then he's like, well, he has to choose back in every single time. I don't do well with the responding. And then I have to choose back in each time too. So it's like both of us, as we're being triggered by each other, choosing to choose back in to create the authenticity and the honesty and the vulnerability and the honoring of ourselves.
To stand in your truth.
Yes.
In your individual truth.
Yes.
I love that you're bringing this up, because this is actually something that Ben and I have been going through recently. Is it's almost like we're relearning how to communicate with each other. You just get in this, I don't want to call it a rut, but that's what it feels like. It feels like this pathway that you've gone down so many times that you've worn it down, and this is the natural reaction that you're used to having to a certain conversation or certain situation. And it feels really uncomfortable to try to step outside of that in the beginning and realize like, okay, I can be this level of vulnerable, and it's scary. And vulnerable is like the best word. Like, you just feel almost naked in this conversation.
Yeah.
When you're used to having these safeties of, I know that if I say it this way, or I have this reaction when he does this or says this, that I can predict the direction that it's going. But if I step outside of that, I'm like out of this safety zone and I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't know how he's going to react because he's not used to me being here. And we're both doing that with each other. And it's really, really uncomfortable. And yet at the same time, knowing that you're doing it because it's bringing you closer and you're allowing each other to see you in such a way that you've never